In the section of Korech, Hillel tells us that since it says al matzah umorim yochlu, that we eat the korban Pesach with matzah and maror, so we make a sandwich of matzah and maror, and there's the minhag to dip the maror into the charoses and to make a sandwich. And the question is, why do we need this? I mean, at the end of the day, there is no korban Pesach. Maybe it's zecher, maybe it's in remembrance for it. But at the end of the day, we're about to have a huge meal. We already ate the matzah and the maror. So why do we need to make this sandwich? Or the greater question is, what's the significance of having this sandwich, and what is the underlying message? Rav Kook says something fascinating. Rav Kook says that the maror, as we know, represents the difficulties and the bitter times and all the blood, sweat, and tears that Klal Yisrael had to go through during those years. The matzah has multiple meanings, but one of the meanings of matzah is that since Klal Yisrael were in a rush to leave and they were baking matzahs, and that's what they needed to do in order to eat, they did not have time for the dough to rise. So in a certain sense, the matzah is considered freedom bread, is considered cherus. And the matzah therefore represents, although it does have a mixed message, but the matzah essentially represents the fact that we were free from Mitzrayim, we were free from the shibud. And what essentially Rav Kook says, what we do is we take the maror, which was the difficulty, and we had so many difficult years. And when we take that maror and we wrap it and we put it in a sandwich with two sides of matzah, which is supposed to represent our freedom, it makes us realize that although times were bitter and times were difficult, when you're able to put it in context, into perspective, that Hashem sent us down to Mitzrayim not just to punish us. He sent us down to Mitzrayim to make us His nation. And then ultimately He took us out from Mitzrayim. When we're able to put that difficulty in the context, when we're able to wrap the maror in the matzah, so it gives us a certain perspective that this is not purposeless suffering. This was a suffering to make us, not a suffering to break us. And this is also perhaps why we take the maror and dip it into the charoses, which is a sweet experience. We're taking something that's bitter and dipping it into sweet, that when we're able to wrap it and put it into that context and see the purpose, even the bitterness itself becomes a little sweet, and we can put it into perspective and understand its purpose and its clarity. And to a large extent, I think this is a very, very important message, not only for the Seder and to recognize that all of our suffering was, at the end of the day, purposeful and made us who we are today, but I think is an important lesson for life. And I think considering the situation we're going through, you don't always see the reason for things, but knowing and having the emunah from the Seder night that there always is a reason and there always is an ultimate constructive purpose allows us to take something that's really, really difficult and to put it into perspective and to be able to understand that we have emunah in Hashem, and that ultimately, gamzu letova, as hard as it is to say, that everything is always for the best and everything is always meant to get us to this better ultimate place. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu allow us to see this speedily in our days through all the difficulties that we've been going through, and to be able to quickly bring the geula, mamish, this Nisan b'meher v'yameinu, amen.